Just someone please confirm. Are you guys are able to see my screen?
Yes, bro.
Yes, right. Okay, thank you.
Hi Rajesh.
Hey, good evening, guys.
Yeah, good evening.
Okay. All right, guys. So agenda of today's class is we're gonna discuss the deployment part of deployment part of the UA path. So in the beginning of the classes, I will discuss you about an architecture of an UA path. Like initially, once you develop your parts in a UA path studio, so for monitoring and scheduling or running the jobs or maintaining the assets or queues and how you create your new bots and how you configure your environments and how to configure this process, how can we manage this process and how to associate between these things. So I told you there is a centralized web application which is called an UiPath orchestrator. So we'll deep dive into this is one of the most important components where in every interviewer or wherever you go, this is like once the development is done. So the second part gonna be your deployment part. So we'll understand and navigate each of the screens, and I will try to install this orchestrator component from the scratch, and we will discuss how we can make the configurations and how we can run your jobs through an orchestrator. So so today's agenda gonna be how we can create your robots and what kind of machines we can configure, like and what kind of templates we have it, and what are the different methods you can run your UiPath jobs apart from your studio. So as of now, whatever the jobs we are running, all we are doing is from UiPath Studio, we are trying to run from the start button, right? So practically once these jobs, these scripts have migrated to the production, this is not the way we run it, okay? So we'll see what are the different modes of jobs, like how we can run the jobs and how we can deploy your process and how to publish if any package you develop in development, how we can publish this package and how we can manage these different versions of these packages. Say you developed an version 1 of your package, so tomorrow you have an update, so you need to how we can modify and how we can update these packages, and see how we can publish, how we can manage these published versions, and how we can create in different jobs and schedules. So today these are the few topics we're going to focus on. Today's agenda is going to be. So let me reiterate, like what the UiPath orchestrator is. So UiPath orchestrator is one of the component of this framework, right? It's basically a server-based application that lets you to orchestrate your robots. Okay, hence the name is defined as an orchestrator. So it runs on server and it connects to different robots within the network. So there are different types of bots or different types of modes with this machine it runs on, say like an attended bot or an unattended bot or non-production or a development mode. So we're going to discuss this in later half of the session. So just remember, it is a browser based interface that enables the orchestration and management of many of the robots just within a click. So you have a many different parts in a project, how we can centrally manage and how we can do your management of these different parts. This whole orchestrator is all about. So apart from this, what else the orchestrator does? It lets you to manage the creation, monitoring part, and deployment of your resources in your environment. Okay. So let's see how, let's get into each of these components, okay, practically, and see how this orchestrator, how we can configure in the machine. And once you get into your projects, so how you move your scripts from your development instance to production instance, and how practically the RTS team or a production team or an admin team. See, what happens is in some projects, they have a dedicated admin team and RTS team who take care of these orchestrator things. But in development, they do have a development orchestrator and production orchestrator. So you should be aware of all these different components of an orchestrator. Okay. So let's see how we can install this orchestrator. So when you go to your start button, by default, you might have seen UiPath Studio. For every one of us, you might see two UiPath components. One is UiPath Studio and other one is UI Robot. Okay, just make sure, ensure that this thing is, installed. Just open this. So if you guys have observed, whenever you try to run any of your package from the studio, automatically there is a one more icon which runs in the background. That is, it is running as a service. So what exactly it's running as a service is UiPath Robot, this thing. Okay. So once you right click this thing in the settings button, you will see the orchestrator settings. Okay. Just click that orchestrator settings. What I will try to do, as of now, my orchestrator it has a connection with platform.uipath.com. I will try to disconnect this and I will try to make connections and configure everything from the scratch. Okay. So initially in your systems, okay, let me show you that navigation one more time. Just go to start button and type in UI space robot. Just double click that one. Okay, so the landing page gonna be this page. Okay, the process list of all the process, and you have a settings pane. On the bottom, you can see the status of my status is it is not connected to orchestrator. Okay, so Dinesh, I think in your recent assignment, right, you might have seen you're working in a dev instance, so you're unable to make a connection to any of the queues, or you're unable to run to orchestrator because the orchestrator is not configured, it is offline.
Yes, yes.
Right?
Yes.
So right. So basically, whenever you get in a project, ensure that UiPath Studio is installed. Okay. Apart from that, open this UiPath robot and make sure that the status is not offline, but it should be connected, and it can be licensed or unlicensed, or depending on your studio type, whatever if it is an enterprise edition, usually it is a licensed type. If it is in community edition, usually you're gonna see as connected and unlicensed. So ensure that if it is offline, that means you don't have any connection established to an orchestrator. So make sure, we will see how we can build a connection and how the orchestrator looks like. So this is all. Just open your robot in your machines and make sure that it is an offline from the scratch. Okay. So the first step is, if you can look in the PowerPoint screen, create a machine in orchestrator. Okay. So how to get into an orchestrator URL? Okay. By default, the UiPath is providing one cloud-based orchestrator URL, which is platform.uipath.com. Once you open this page, I will just type in a notepad. HTTPS platform.uipath.com. Okay. So this is your orchestrator URL. Okay. So every organization, what happens is, whenever they procure the license and they have an enterprise edition, okay, so they have a customized URL. Okay. So here, as of now, you are showing, since this is an trial or evaluation version, as of now, you are showing the standardized URL, which is platform.uipath.com. Say you went to some other organization, they might have some HTTPS port number, some abc.com or xyz.com. Okay. So for our instance practice purpose, I am using this https://platform.uipath.com. Once you navigate that URL, what you should do is just say for the first time sign up. Okay. When you say the sign up, it has an option of signing with either your Google account or Microsoft account, or you can use with any of your email. Okay. So in that, what it will ask the basic information of your name, your organization, and for what purpose. Just mention that. So indirectly, what what you're doing is you're becoming a tenant. Okay. So usually the process of registration to an orchestrator URL, you call as a tenancy. It's like you get an apartment. Okay. So you become a tenant to an owner, right? To a particular place. So the same thing. So you have to become a tenant. So tenant is basically registering yourself to an orchestrator thing. That's all. Okay. So what you guys do is you guys just or you can just say continue with Google. Okay. I'm already have an account, so I'm using an existing my account. So once you guys sign up everything, so you're gonna see the landing page like this. This is how you're gonna land up to, where you see the platform.uipath.com, and there is an customize your name. This is a tenant thing, and the portal cloud RPA. So this is how the landing page it's gonna look like once you download everything. Okay. And also when you go to your licenses, by default, if you look at the licensing perspective, by default with this community edition, they're giving only 2 attended bots and 1 attended bot and 1 development robots. Okay, we will later after the session we will describe, like, what is the difference between different categorization of these bots. But if anybody asks you the question, with community edition, the free version of an UiPath, we can only deploy 2 attended bots and 1 unattended bot. Okay, see, so just keep it in your mind. Okay, so you can't deploy as many bots you can. Okay, so just 2 attended and 1 unattended bot you can, with this distributed license of community edition, you can avail. If you want anything the bigger set of numbers, you have to procure the enterprise edition. That is depending on number of licenses and number of machines and type of license. So each enterprise, it can be hundreds, it depends what type of an, the automation solution they are looking for. But with an studio edition, all we have is 2+1, this license. Okay. So go to services, here, let me, okay, and say here add service. Since I already have an service, let me delete this as well, or just make it edit. So once you click on add service, okay, just give any of your service name. So I just mentioned the Rajesh default. Okay, here in the allocate licensing thing, just put here attended as a 2, unattended as a 1, and development as a 2. Just give these numbers. So attended as an that means number of licenses when you're connecting to orchestrator for this particular service, you would like to pertain 2 of an attended and 1 unattended and 2 development. Just give these numbers and say don't worry about much about this licensing perspective. Just hit save. Okay, so once you have done this, the status is going to change to enabled. Okay, so once these services have been created and the status is on enabled mode, click this default service name. So this is an endpoint URL for your orchestrator screen. So if you can look at the top of the navigation, it shows platform.uipath.com/ this Rajesh, this thing, and default. So this is your URL. Again, in your organization, you don't see this name, platform.uipath.com. As I tell you, it's an organization specific. So every domain, this thing, whatever the depending on the type of license, this customized URLs you might see. Again, when you're working on a development, you might have a different development orchestrator URL. When coming to the production, they might have a different URL. And some organizations, some projects, they have a one set of URL which is for both the instances though. Okay. So once you get into a project, the first question you need to ask to the team is give an access to either development or development orchestrator, because you're developing some parts in your studio in order to run from this orchestrator, you need to have an access to this particular URL. So these access, this administrator gonna provide you this access. So you should make a request to the development team saying that, hey, you just got into a project, so you need an access for development orchestrator. Because see, why we need an access? As I told you, you have different set of components. Say you would like to create an assets, or you're building in queues, or you would like to make some triggers, some schedules, or make some manual jobs triggered, or have some update your some version, updating your process or updating your versions. So you need to have an access to an development and URL. So this is your landing page of your development orchestrator URL. Any questions till this point, guys?
Rajesh, I have a doubt.
Yes, please.
Every time we need to create the services, or just once it is enough?
No,
Like
services.
you in services,
Okay,
you created
okay,
one service.
okay. Let me tell you. These are the teams the admin gonna take care of it. Since we are developing everything from the scratch and for practice point of view, see, before that, there is no service concept. In the recently launched UiPath orchestration, right? We need to get into this platform, UiPath platform, and we need to create one service. Okay, these are all the admin people gonna take care of it. We should be least bothered. So as a developer, just want to create, make sure you guys are aware of this, where we are landing to and what are these pages. By default, once you log into your development orchestrator URL, this is a landing page where you're gonna see it. Since for a practice perspective, I just showed you how to create the service and where we're gonna land into. Those are all things, the admin team gonna take care of it. See, there are some projects where you need to do even the administration part also. It's good to know this administration bit of stuff as well. Like they will tell once, see, even some of the projects they're doing even the feasibility check and POC's point of view. And once they have the projects, everything in place, then they will tell, hey, let's procure an enterprise edition. Then we need to realistically, we need to understand how many licenses we need and how to this enroll this license and how we can deploy this license, right? How many machines we need, how many licenses we need, how many bots we need. So just good to have a knowledge of, these all these things services. That's all.
Okay, Rajesh.
Any other questions, guys?
Yeah, okay, Rajesh.
Any other questions apart? Dinesh, I think in your project, in your recent assignment, the reason why you are not able to establish a connection to the orchestrator because you're trying to build a queue, and when you're trying to add in items to the queue or get retrieve the items from the queue, since you don't have any connection built up on the UiPath bot tray, so this is how you need to ensure that first of all, do I have any connection to an orchestrator or not? Okay.
Yeah, sometimes you also face some connection loss issues also.
Yes, yes. I will explain you how to troubleshoot those issues. In case if you don't establish a connections, I will explain you all this. Okay.
Sure, sure. Fine.
Okay. Got it. So once, okay, let's go to the PowerPoint. So the first step in this process is, okay, once you have, assuming that everybody has an access to the dev orchestrator URL. So the first step, create a machine in orchestrator. Okay, usually called it as a provisioning. So let's see how we can create a machine in orchestrator. So there is a tab called machines here. Okay. Okay. What I will do, I will try to delete everything existing things. Just remove these machines. So initially, because the robots is attached to it. Okay, no issues. Let me delete everything. Okay, the robots are deleted and machines. Okay, so this is your landing page. So there is a plus icon right here, a bar. Okay, so here select the standard machine. So just give the name. Here, make sure the name of the machine, whatever you're trying to provision a standard machine, it should be the name of the machine. Okay. How to retrieve your machine name? There are multiple ways, but just open your CMD in your start. In your CMD, type hostname. So that's gonna give your machine name. So the name has to be the same machine name, whatever the name you're trying to provision a standard machine. So I'm mentioning the same name. You can't give any other names. It has to be the same name. So after you give the name, just say provision. Okay. So that's all. That's all on the first step. Nothing else need to be done. Next step is connecting your UI robot to an orchestrator. Okay. Now, as I told you, whenever there is on the bottom tray, you have an UA path, this robot which is running as a service, right? So I will open the orchestrator settings, right? You can see on the orchestrator settings, as of now, there is no URL or no machine key, okay? Now what we'll try to do is we'll try to bind this machine name with the orchestrator settings from your system tray. Let's see how we're gonna do it. So here I told you, the orchestrator URL is whatever the whatever your endpoint URL which your org has it. This is a organization specific and depending on the license specific. So by default, the community edition, I am using the platform.uapart.com as I discussed here before, and the machine key. Okay. So where we gonna get the machine key? Just select your type of machine, and in the more actions, say view. Okay. On the top, when you view the machines, it has a big character, this machine key. Just copy this key. Okay. I'm saying copy and say close and go to your machine key. So since I already have a connection, so all you do is copy paste your machine key here. So the machine name automatically get defaulted based on your system. Okay. Because this is a host name which I saw in my CMD as well, just to ensure. So this name and the host name will be same. See, Rajesh-PC, Rajesh-PC. Okay, that's all. So once you enter your orchestrator URL and the machine key, say connect. Okay, so I'm here, it's showing a disconnect button. That means automatically it is connected. I'm closing this thing one more time. See here on the bottom, it says the connection as connected, comma unlicensed. Okay, that means we are using an unlicensed version of this thing, and it has been connected. Okay, so let me open this orchestrator settings one more time. See here, the status it shows as unlicensed. It is connected. So that means it is successfully, we have provisioned your machine to this robot. Okay, so whenever what happens is you develop some scripts and you push your code to an production. Okay, so there is no picture of UiPath Studio getting involved in running the jobs. So always you remember there is a mutual heartbeat connections being established within your these orchestrator and your UI robot. Always what happens is there is a pulse getting generated mutually between these two things. Say if there is no connection to your UI robot, then we will not be able to run any of your jobs from your orchestrator. So always the connection has to be established. Okay. Say for an instance you ran a job. Okay. It failed. So first thing you need to make sure is make sure whether your UiPath bot it got connected or it has any connection issues. So we have to make sure that go to your orchestrator settings and it should say that the status is connected. Okay. If any of these connections are missing, so sometimes what happens is as a troubleshooting thing, they will try to disconnect it and make a connection one more time. So these are the few try to retry mechanism, or you try to trouble whenever you're facing some connection issues. Just ensure that the connection has been established between your orchestrator and this system tray. Okay, so the step 2 is done. So the step 1, we created a machine in orchestrator. This is provisioning. And the second step is we did connect your UI robot. So basically the bottom in the system tray, this is UI robot to orchestrator. How we establish? Through the machine name and the key. Okay. Now the third step is, let's see how we can create a robot in orchestrator. So there is a component called robots on your left pane. Okay, click the robots and click the plus sign. Okay, so here there is a floating thing of standard robot, and here it says a floating robot. Okay, so what is a standard robot and what is a floating robot? Say you have one machine. Okay, one machine. Say assume that there is one particular login user credentials. Okay, you would like to use. The other scenario would be on the same machine on a shared environment, you have in multiple logins. Say for an example, Deepak is working in one organization where he has a dedicated system. Okay, in the dedicated system, he has only one login. Only one person is coming in that particular shift, and apart from that, no one else is using the system. Okay, this can be categorized as a standard thing. When coming to the floating, say the in a 24 hours day, Deepak is working on 8 hours. Okay. And remaining 8 hours, 16 hours, two other people, that means total work day shift is divided into 3 shifts. So 3 different people are working in that whole day. So what the admin will do, he will create multiple set of logins, say multiple instance of that logins. So once the Deepak logs off, so the other person comes in, he logs in with his own set of credentials, right? So this is kind of using in shared logins and shared environment. In that case, we're gonna create a floating robot. Is that clear?
Let's go.
Clear, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So at this moment, I'm creating only a standard robot. That is possible, right? You guys know you in a Windows system as well. Once you're trying to log in, you can create an multiple logins, right? So in a similar way. So
Yeah, Rajesh, I have a doubt here.
yeah, tell me please.
How we'll get to know that we need to create the standard robot or floating robot at I mean, wait, what scenario this is useful or like this?
See these, how many robots you need that. See, as a developer, right? You will not create any robots actually. Okay, honestly.
Okay.
There is a dedicated server team, admin team, RTS team. Okay, so say for an instance, your project is running only in a multiple bots. Okay, say it has an dynamically you need to allocate these bots in different set of machines. Say you have one bot, it's supposed to run in India VM and US VM and European virtual machine. Okay, in that scenario, how many bots you need? So depending on the architecture of your project, and say this is a thing. Say you have an 5 bots. Okay, all are categorized into one particular group. Say first 2 bots are busy. Okay, they're running some other jobs. Say the third job is in the queue. So rather than waiting in this particular job, what they will do is they will allocate this as a dynamically scheduled VMs. So dynamic scheduling, how it works is, say your bot supposed to be dedicatedly run on particular group of VMs. VMs in the sense machines. Okay. Say today your bot might have run on machine A. Okay. It is not quite necessarily that it has to be run on machine A itself. Tomorrow it might run on B. Because if B is busy tomorrow, what is the next particular VM pertaining in that particular group? So dynamically get allocate. So there is a specific set of architecture, like how this dynamic you need to schedule the VMs. These are a little bit an admin point of view, but these all things the team gonna take care of. Okay, how many parts to create, how to create, whether it is a standard thing or a floating thing. Just try to clear the conceptual wise. Just be clear on this term. That's all. Okay.
Okay.
So we have created a robot in Orchestra. Oh, we haven't created. Okay, let's go to robots tab and say add, and I'm creating a standard robot for our demonstration perspective. See here, it's asking me to select a machine. So we have created a machine right in the before step. I'm selecting this machine. Okay. In the name, you can give any name. It don't matter actually. And the types, just in the later of the session, I'm going to discuss you what are the different types of these environments. Say when to use attended, when to use unattended, and I told you right 4 different types of moods: non-production and development. As of now, I'm selecting a development type, and domain and username. Okay, how to get a domain and username? Same, go to your CMD and say who am I. So it's gonna give you your machine thing. Okay, so that's basically your first thing is domain, and this is your username. This is username is basically the user who logs in, right? So I would like to put everything as is. So Rajesh hyphen PC, and this would be your username. And in order to your bot to run on this machine, you need to provide your system password. Okay, the password when you try to log on to your machine, this is a password you need to provide. Without that, it won't be able to establish a connection. So enter your system password. Okay. So all you need to do is give your machine name is from your drop down list, and give your any of the name, and what type of an you need to specify the type, whether it is a non-production, development, or attended or unattended thing, and give your domain and username and password, and say create. So you have successfully created your one of your robot. And on one particular machine, you can create n number of robots. Okay, so robots is nothing but this is, as I told you, this is one of the virtual entity or end user which is running your jobs actually on that particular machine. That's all. Let's refresh this. Give me a second. I might have put the wrong password. You're supposed to check status is connected. Just checking what is an issue. That's fine. We'll see it. Just give me some other time. Next thing is we have successfully created a step 3. Now the next thing is we need to create some environment. Okay. So the next to the robots there is a tab called environment. Okay. So why we need to create an environment? Okay. Say you have a multiple bots. Okay, running running under the particular machine. Okay, you would like to categorize the different set of bots into one particular group. So it's a logical, basically it's a logical grouping of different bots. Say, say on your screen, you are seeing Rajesh PC and Kevin and Mac, right? So these three bots, whatever we configured, say for an instance, we would like to categorize all three as in dev, okay? And say two of the systems you would like to categorize as an testing team, and the two other parts you would like to create as an UAT. So it's a logical grouping of all the particular group, they pertain to one particular group, you are making as in one particular environment. So they need an environment. Say under the dev team, under the dev environment, you have the specific set of bots configured. Under the test, you have specific set of bots configured. And under UAT, you have specific set of bots configured. So for that grouping purpose, we might need some kind of an environment. So the next step would be creating your environment. So just say plus and say, give the name Rajesh Dev environment. Okay, and say create. Okay, once you say okay, automatically it's gonna populate what are all the different robots available in your orchestrator URL. As of now, you can see on the bottom, it's showing the Rajesh RPA, the one which we created. So what we are trying to do is, you're trying to associate the environment with your robot. That means Rajesh RPA, the robot, I am trying to associate these particular development environment. Okay, you're tagging these two, you're binding these two environment to your robot. So select this thing. On the bottom, you have multiple list of robots. So you can select all the particular robots which you feel like and select everything and say update. That's all. Okay, and now you go to your robot and see here on this particular robot, the machine name is configured, and the environment it has been tagged. Okay, is this clear? Any questions, guys? Is that clear?
For me, it's clear, bro.
Clear,
Clear,
right?
Rajesh.
Clear, right? Give me a
Okay.
second, just checking why it is not able to build a connection. Just give me a second. Huh?
Yeah, okay, Raj.
No problem. It's supposed to be saying you're connected. Just I'm trying to build one more time. So sometimes what they does is they give an access to your orchestrator URL and you need to configure everything. So it's better to know so how to do this provisioning and all this stuff. Let me copy paste the key one more time. Copy. Now say connect. Let's see if it works. See now on the bottom, before it was a red connected and license. Now it established a connection. The green symbol on the bottom, it says connected license. Okay. So the issue was I'm using an old key, which was my old key. I'm trying to still use the old key. That's why the error popped up. Because I try to, now I will go to your robots tab. See now, it shows a solid green thing. That means there is a connection between your UiPath robot and this environment. There is an association with this particular user. See, now it says status is available. So if the status is unavailable, right, then you will not be able to run any of your jobs or scheduled jobs on this particular machine. So ensure that wherever you want to run these particular jobs, so ensure that wherever you're trying to run on this bot is available, the status is available. If it is not available, make sure go to the system tray and make sure proper provisioning is done and there is a connection built up. Sometimes what happens is you might not have a connection built up. So for that, what you need to do is go to start and go to your services. I will show you how to restart that UiPath bot as well. So go to your services. And here you have all the Windows services. So type UI robot. Okay. So once you type UI robot, so usually it will show in here the UiPath Studio and UI robot tries to just restart this particular service. That's all. So if you restart this service, automatically you're gonna build this UI robot thing. That's all. Okay. So ensure that this particular thing is status is as available. Okay. So that would be your step 4. So we have created successfully an environment as well, and we associated the particular bars. Okay. Now we are all good for successfully. We have created an environment. We have created a robot. In order to create a robot, creating a machine is necessary. So we have created a machine as well, and we have built in connection. Now the next step, let's see how we can build a sample job in UiPath Studio and how I can publish this job. So as of now, we have seen only running your jobs from a studio. Let's see, there are different ways to run your jobs. So one would be from your UiPath orchestrator, and other one would be from your system tray, which is your UI robot. So let's see how we can create a sample workflow and how we can publish this package, and let's run this job from orchestrator. So I'm creating a test workflow just to demonstrate this thing. So I'm taking a sample sequence. So let's take a simple process. So we'll take a notepad, invoking a notepad, and type something in the notepad. So I'm going to use an open application activity. So let me, okay. In the open application activity, I'm trying to indicate a window. So when in the open application, once when you select this window, automatically it's gonna invoke the type of an application, which is notepad.exe. And I'm gonna use type into in the do scope. And just type in here. Just for demo, orchestrator demo. This is my just a sample job. Okay. Assume that this is your project. Okay. You have successfully developed your project. Once you have successfully developed your project, the next step would be you want to publish this, whatever this particular script you developed in your development, you would like to publish it, right? So in your design pane itself, on all the way on your right, there is an option for publish. Okay. What I'm doing is I'm saying publish. Okay. This is the landing page. Once you select, then publish. Don't change any settings, leave as is. Okay. Here you can see currently the version it says is 1.0.0. Okay. You do have a different set of versions in your projects, but what basically it says is this is your current version. Okay. And this particular project has never been published. So it's saying the current version is 1.0.0 and the new version is 1.0.1. Okay. All you need to do is just say publish. Just when you say the publish, just copy this thing and I'm pasting this in a notepad. So how you push your scripts from your development instance to different instances, you need to give your package name. Okay. It says projects published successfully. This is your name of your project, which is orchestrated demo. Okay. And just mention what is your package version. Okay. Say you publish one version today and tomorrow you made some changes. You would like to republish it. So once when you republish this particular package, you will get a next set of version. That's how your versions get rolled over and over. Whenever you're trying to keep on publishing, the version numbers keep on changing. So you always have an option to either roll back or you can move on to the next set of version. So whenever you publish it, just keep a note of your particular package name and package version. Okay. So I'm saying okay, that's all. So now what I'm doing is I don't need my UiPath Studio anymore. You have successfully created one package and already published it. Now I'm closing my UiPath Studio. Okay. Now,
Rajesh, where it will publish, Rajesh?
I will tell you where it published. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So once when you publish, what happens is practically there is a connection built on from your orchestrator to this robot. That's why we have did all this provisioning and stuff. Why we built a connection to the robots and environment and syncing up your machines. So once you push your package, I'll show you. Go to your process. Okay. Right next to the process, there is a tab called package. Okay. See here, the third one, whatever the package list of packages you publish from your studio, all the list of packages you're gonna see here. See, this is an orchestrated demo. Description is a blank process. When it got published 2 minutes ago. See here. See, I told you, right? Here you always have an option either to make any particular version as an active version. That means today you develop one version, tomorrow you update it to one other version, right? And day after tomorrow you feel like, hey, my first version is good. You always have an option to roll back to an earlier previous versions. Okay, I will show you how to do that. So here you're gonna find all your list of packaging versions. As I told you, right, there is a 1.0.1. This is a particular version. Okay. Next, once you see your package available in this tab, go to your processes. Okay. Say, try to create a process. So what exactly this process is? This process is a combination of your package name. So what would be your name of the package? That is your project name. And what version of the package? This is a combination of your package name, package version, and your environment. When you club and bind together, this would be your end process. So people will ask you the question, what exactly is the process? And what is the package difference between the package and the process? Say when you clearly should be from your studio, once you publish it, you get a package name and a package version. See here, the package name. So what is the package name? This is my project name, orchestrated demo. Okay. And next you will see the package version. As I told you, right? Currently this project has only one version. That's why it is showing only one version. If you have multiple set of versions, you will see a many in the list. I will show you that as well. But as of now, I'm selecting only one version, which is 1.0.1. And the other one, what is an environment? The environment which we created while doing the robots, I am selecting this environment. So my environment is Rajesh development environment. That's all. So the process is a combination of your package name, package version, and your environment. And say create. That's all. So here you could see your new process has been created. What is the new process? Orchestrated demo, and your version is 1.1, and this is your environment. That's all. So that's what is placed in the slide as well. So what exactly the process constitute? The package, packaging version, and your environment. Okay. So we have seen the sixth step as well, how to create the process. Now, the next step is how we can run the job. Say you have built your process. Now on your left, you see one more tab called jobs. So click that jobs, and here there is a button to say start. Click start. Okay. When you can you click the start, what it is asking, it is not asking any package or package version. So in order to start a job, you need a process. So just now we have created one. See this particular process. This is your package name underscore your environment. This is your environment. Okay. As I told you, I didn't select which robot to run and which machine to run. How automatically this my machine came? As I told you, there is an association for your environment to the bot. See, once we go to your see this environment, as I told you, this particular environment, when I create this more actions and say manage, this environment always has a mapping to your machines. That's why under this particular environment, this particular bot has already been managed. That's why is automatically showing up in this particular list. So let me select this process one more time. See, now here you have a different set of categories. Execution targets, it is asking specific robots. That means what are the different robots you would like to be specific on which robots you would like to run this particular process. And the other one is allocate dynamically. What does allocate dynamically means is, as I told you, there might be multiple machines might be configured in grouping will be done. Okay. Say you want this particular job to be run dynamically. Okay. Say group one has a 5 different set of VMs allocated to this group, and group B has other 5 set of VMs. What the team does is, admin team, they will tell, hey, my robot should run every week, but not every week on the same machine. It can run any of the machine. So dynamically, this runtime execution of the jobs will differ. Okay. In that scenarios, they will select this option, allocate dynamically. But as of now, I'm using the specific robots, and I'm selecting this which machine it's supposed to run. Okay. I'm selecting this thing, and I'm saying start. Just observe guys what happens. Okay. I'm saying start. Now see, the status is showing as state running. Now what happens? Watch. What did happen? I didn't open any studio. What happened in the background? Automatically this UA robot try to, you don't need any studio to run this job. Actually, what was my workflow? My workflow was to open an notepad application, and it just type into something on your notepad. See, now automatically this job ran successful on this particular machine. See, got it?
Yeah, got it, Rajesh. Yeah, got
Say,
it.
say what I can do, Ayub. Now I can build a connection to your system. If you give your system credentials, same job I can run on your machine remotely.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Does it make sense or no?
Yeah, yes, yes.
So you don't require to develop the scripts on every machine. So you are building a project in script in one machine, and you are pushing all that code to an orchestrator centralizedly, and remotely you're trying to run a different machine. All I need is have an UI robot installed on your system. If you give me your system key and password, I can run this job on your machine remotely. So that's how, centralized in centralized manner we can configure different machines, and we can run different jobs on different environments. Is that clear, guys?
Yeah, okay, Rajesh.
Okay, Rajesh.
Any questions, or is it clear?
Yeah, you go to that You told no, sometimes it will be dynamically, they will change the,
Yes.
why they are using that dynamically.
Okay, I will tell you why they do that. Okay, good question. Say your company, right? Whatever company organization you're working for, they have a budget of 5 production machines. Okay. In one production machine, say one job is running for 8 hours. Okay, one job is running for 8 hours to complete this execution. So, in order to say on the same machine, I want to configure one more job. Okay, so the bar will not run, right, because until this execution is triggered, it will gonna be in the pending queue. Okay, I don't want my other job to fault it or not to execute for this particular reason. So what I will do, I will group all these 5 machines into one particular group. Say in the first machine, if none of the jobs is running, it will run on this particular machine A. If it is busy, okay, what it does is it will go to the next set of machine, which is a group B. It will check if it is whether it is idle or it is in running mode. If it is idle, it will run on this machine. Okay, so you always have a flexibility of grouping on this internally on this, and you can dynamically allocate. So say say you have this orchestrated demo process, you scheduled a job, that means every day morning it has to run. You can specify whether it has to run every day on the same machine or it can run on any other machine. So you don't know tomorrow on which machine it's gonna run. So that means dynamically it has been allocated. That means not static. So always that team has a flexibility whether they can cut down their execution targets to one particular machine or they can make a dynamically scheduling this option.
Yeah, fine, Rajesh. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, understood.
Say IUB is busy, you can't run on this machine. So don't mean that business has to lose since the machine being busy. It has to run on some other machine, right? So we have to make this process job to dynamically making scheduling enabled. That's all.
Okay.
Okay. Just give me a second, Lata.
Yeah, okay, Rajesh.
Any other questions from any other folks? Rajesh, Dinesh.
Bro, can you open the orchestration settings?
Orchestrator settings, okay. See, before there was a different user interface. This is a brand new version of an interface. Yeah.
Yeah, this is me.
Yeah, tell me.
Bro,
Ritu.
there's something is like robot logging level information. What is that?
This logging information, the information trace. Yeah.
Ah,
This in the next set of classes you will be learning. So what? See,
okay.
you might have seen the logging information, right? Okay, I will explain that as well. Let me open a studio. Did Kirti discuss the logging levels or no? I mean, what log level equal to one, or log level equal to error, or log level equal to trace. So these set
No,
of
Rajesh.
no, right?
No.
Okay, no, we'll be discussing that. Okay, we'll be discussing that. So I will be showing that what does the logging level information is called information error critical. I will show you what impact it's gonna be. See, once when you go to the jobs, okay, this job ran successfully 6 minutes ago. I'm selecting this particular job, okay, and I'm going to more actions, and I would like to see the logs, okay, logs of this particular job. As of now, we didn't have any logs. So as a good practice, what a developer does is, say you launched an application, okay, you put a log saying that SAP application has been logged successfully. Okay. The next set of log, what you'll put, hey, the browser tried to create a connection has been successfully built. Say you try to download one particular file, it has been successfully downloaded. So at multiple trigger points in your development is always a good practice to create appropriate logs according to situation. I mean, according to your necessity. So what happens is, while you're trying to troubleshoot the things in the purpose of an error, it will always help you, right? See here, These are the logs, Deepak. Okay. By default, these are the system generated logs. What does it say is this particular job execution started, this job execution ended because we don't have any dedicatedly logs. It didn't provide any additional logs. If you can see these levels, depending on the logging level in your settings, those kind of logs you're gonna screen in your orchestrator logs. Here, see, there is a different log levels of trace, info, warn, error, or fatal. So I will discuss this in the next upcoming classes. What these different logging levels. So if you specify warn and if you specify in the settings one particular level, what kind of logs messages will be seeing on your screen, and which is not visible and which is the visibility levels we're gonna discuss in the upcoming classes. So depending on the settings
Okay,
over there, it's gonna impact this different tracing levels here. That's okay. Okay. So apart, if anybody asks you what are the different modes of running the jobs, okay, without even running from the studio, see all in the development perspective, you can run the jobs from the.
Rajesh, your voice is breaking.
How about right now? Is it
Yeah,
audible?
good.
Good, good. Okay. So
Yeah, audible.
audible, right? Okay. So in interviews, they might ask you in how many different ways you can run your UiPath jobs. Okay. The first one is through your studio. Okay. As you guys are aware of. And the second option is from your orchestrator jobs. This will be a second option. And the third option, let's see. When you go to your UiPath robot system tray, give me a second, guys. I have multiple set of versions involved. I think I'm using an old version of thing. Okay, so because see, I tried to install an multiple instance, old instance and a new instance. Usually on the bottom of your system tray from your agent, also you can run your processes actually. So I will try to uninstall this and I'm gonna show you. But just keep in your mind that
Rajesh, what you told, 1 second, repeat it.
so from your system tray, okay, there is a bottom UiPath robot, right? From your tray also you can run your jobs. Say say you have an orchestrated demo job you want to run, okay? The one method is manually running from a studio. The second option is from orchestrator, like the way I showed you. This is other way. And the third one is running from your system tray because I have another older version of an agent configured. That's why I'm unable to open it. But tomorrow I will show that how you can run from the tray as well. Okay, just keep it in your mind that
Yeah, mostly in which way we will run?
see always you don't run it. So most of your real-time jobs, I'll show you that. What that does is this is the manual way of triggering your jobs. Say you have developed some scripts in your development, right? So you ensure that it's running perfectly in different environments. So you run it jobs from here. What once it moves to production is they will make the schedules. Let's see how we can define those schedules. Okay, I'm creating a plus symbol here. Rajesh RPA schedule. Just give the name of the schedule, and here you define your process. This is your process. Now mention your time zone. Was it GMT +5? Let's see. Yeah, this one. UTC +5 and that. So I'm selecting my time zone. Okay. Here, what that does is Nobody will go to any particular orchestrator and run the manually the jobs. What they does is there are multiple bots. The frequency of the bot, say for an instance, the frequency of bot can be a daily bot or intraday bot, or it is a weekly bot, or it can be a monthly bot. That means there are some processes they want to run daily basis. In daily basis also, say every hour they can run, or every minute, every half an hour they can run, or once in a day they can run, or weekly or bi-weekly. So all depends on the business use. Okay. So in that, what they will do is they will define these particular schedules. That means automatically when a schedule is has been defined, nobody will run anything. Automatically system will pick that particular name process and it will go to on which machine it's supposed to run, because already there is an association between which machines it's supposed to run and when to run. So this is how the practically it's gonna work, the schedules. So say there are some ad hoc bots, ad hoc basis in the sense there are some businesses they don't want any schedules. Whenever they get an input, they will tell the business will send you an email, or they will create some service request. They will tell, hey, I need my process to be run on ad hoc basis. That means as a one-time requirement. So it's not a schedule. So this all these schedules is specific to the business again, because there are some of my bars which run intraday 3 times a day. So a morning, afternoon, and evening. Okay. In that, what they will do, the admin team, they will define this process, and here you can see on the trigger part, you can define on a minute basis. Say for an every 30 minutes, you want this particular process to run, or hourly basis, or you can specify a daily basis, every day at which particular hour and minute we is supposed to run, or weekly basis. You can specify on what particular days. You can explicitly you can specify what days it's supposed to run and what particular hour. So these are the trigger points to run this. So let's create one schedule. So I'm creating this schedule to run on every 2 minutes just for our testing. We don't have an option of 2 minutes. I can specify 1 minute. Okay. So I am saying create. Just okay. Now my defined process, the new schedule which I have been defined. See what happened? Automatically in a fraction of 1 minute, my job triggered on this particular machine, whatever it has been configured. Now watch. After 1 more minute, automatically the job gonna trigger one more time. So this is never ending thing, because we need to make it disabled, because every 1 minute it has been configured. Just wait for 1 more minute. See here the schedule. So you need to make sure whenever you push this project, this particular process, currently the schedule has been configured to run for this particular process on this environment, and the trigger points is every minute, and the next runtime it will show. Say the next runtime it is showing less than a minute. Okay. Now watch, in a few seconds again automatically the bot will run. See, did it run or no? So that's how they define a schedule. So I'm just removing this schedule. So depending on the frequency of your bot, whatever the design configurations, they make it happen. So the schedule is going to be configured the same way. Say for an
Rajesh, at a time we can run only one process.
yeah, we can do.
It's repeating the same. We are scheduling, but it's repeating the same thing only, no? That same orchestra demo.
Yeah, because see, my process, that's what I created a test sample, right? I created one sample bot project where I want to run. See, for a sample of testing, I showed you to run every minute. Okay. The same set of schedules, how they define is, hey, let's run this bot on 10 different machines. Okay. These kind of settings we can be configured.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Say tomorrow your business will come and tell, hey, there is an issue with our down application downtime. So application is not running. Let's disable the bot. Okay. So how you do? So how you need to do? You need to go to your schedules. Let me create it one more time. I will show you how to disable all that also. You don't do all these things, administration stuff, but it's always good to know actually. Okay. So I will show you how to disable this. Say now your business came and say whatever the schedule the bot is running for XYZ reason, there is an issue with your input or it can be anything. Okay. Here, see here on the option, say disable. Okay. Now what happens? It will be grayed out since it has been triggered. Now this bot will never run because it has been in the disabled mode. So it will never run in the production. So in order to disable, enable this thing, there are a couple of approvals you need to take from your manager and your business saying that what is the reason for making the bot disable mode or in enable mode. Okay. It can be XY reasons. So you need to create again a service request to the team saying that what was the purpose for disabling this part, and you need to justify the team what was disable enabled reasons. So they have a different set of forms again, schedule, enable, disable forms. There you specify. You need to justify the reasons why it was disabled. So always we don't do it, but the admin team, those people will do this enabling, disabling of these parts. Is clear?
Yeah, clear, Rajesh.
Say tomorrow again, you came to you.
Like this, there will be multiple process will be run, no?
Exactly. So
Uh,
how you recognize your one process is here. There is a process name. So this would be your project name. So you can deploy n number of process. So here the process means you're projecting. That's all. Just keep
okay.
in your mind. And I told you, always keep this thumb rule in your mind. When you say the process, it is your package. That means your name of your project and what version it is. As I told you, now every project can have an versions. So it is a combination of your project version and environment. So all three things consider to a process. Okay. When somebody in your team is talking about your package version, and what is the process, so these are the terms you need to be aware of. See, I need to disable this schedule again. See, again it ran. Okay. So we have successfully seen the run jobs. As I told you, the first option is system tray. I will show you tomorrow. I have an older version. Other one is through jobs. That is a manually. When you say the jobs, that means you are manually running your jobs. Okay. Other one is schedules. Schedules means automatically triggered things at certain point of time. Automatically this get triggered. Okay. These are the three different ways we can run your UiPath jobs apart from your studio, because we are not opening anywhere UiPath Studio. Okay, just keep in your mind. And the eighth option is scheduling the jobs. We have seen it, and we will see the package update. Okay, I will go to our project one more time. What is the name of this thing we developed today? UA orchestra. So I'm going to orchestrate a demo. I'm opening your project one more time. Okay. So currently what happening, this particular thing, opening a notepad. Tomorrow I'm in impression that it requires some change in the code. Okay. So let's do some changes with this thing. So what I'm doing is I'm putting one more message box just to show you how the packaging updates we can do. So apart from opening your notepad, also I'm typing the message box. So you did some changes to part of your workflow. Okay. Now I'm saving this workflow again. Now watch. I am republishing again this package. If you remember, guys, correctly, previously when I'm trying to publish the version, it was 1.0.1. Okay. Now automatically it is showing the newer version of a package, which is 1.0.2. Currently, which version it is? 1.0.1. How we can check that is, go to your processes and select your process and go to more view process. See, okay. Here you can see currently which version it is, the current version. It is showing 1.0.1 as a current. See, it is suffixed as a current. Okay, that means only one active version is there, that is 1.0.1 when it was published 30 minutes ago. Okay, now watch. Currently it is 1.0.1. Now I am publishing the newer version, which is 1.0.2. Because why you're publishing? You made some changes to your code. You want that new changes to be reflected, right? So I'm publishing a new package, right? So I'm saying publish again. What it says? Project published successfully, and the version number is 1.0.2. Okay. Now watch, guys. I'm going to process again. And always, if you want to search in your project, because here as of now you are showing only couple of processes, but it can be hundreds and thousands also. So what you do is just type your project. That's all. Whatever the thing you publish, see, my project name is orchestrator demo. You see, guys, there is a solid little green tick mark. Whenever it is there, that means this orchestrator is using the most active version of your studio. When you see this blue color little down point pointed, that means there are newer versions are available, updates are available, right? So select this thing and go to view process. See, as of now it is running on a 1.0.1, but you would like to update an version, right? Because there is an update you publish. So all you need to do is go here and say use 1.0.2. I'm saying use. It says, would you like to update your package version to a newer version? Just say yes. See now, the current status of this automatically mapped to a newer version, which is 1.0.2, and it is published couple of minutes before. Now say close. Now see, again automatically it has been synchronized to most active version, which is your this process. Is that clear? I will show you one more time. Watch. You can see list of all your versions here. Now,
We want to keep on updating our version.
no, it's again depending on you. See, you develop something, you published it. Okay. Now my requirement is I don't want the new process. New process is not working. I want to switch back to old version. Okay. Now two things you can do. You know that 1.0.1, whatever the code changes you did, it was running perfectly my part. So what you do is either you click that particular version and say use. Okay, this is the one way to do it. Other way to do it is there is a rollback option. It will say, or would you like to update to the last used previous version? That means it will roll back to an older version. Is that clear? Now I will use again old version. See, I'm saying use. What happens? This current tag will automatically map to 1.0.1 again. Just refresh it. See, current move to 1.0.2 to 1.0.1. That's all. So let me use the new version and run the bot. Okay. See, this is a newer version I'm using. I'm saying close. So I will go to my jobs again. All you need to do is just type your project. Automatically, it will come up on the screen. See, orchestrated demo. And I will select the machine and say start. See, before version, what the bot was doing, it was trying to open a notepad and it is typing something. Now my newer version of code changes, I incorporated the message box also. Now when I run the job, this message box also came on the screen, right? So that means your most recent changes also has been published to an orchestrator and it is using the most current version of your code. That's it. Is that clear?
Yeah, yes, Rajesh, clear.
Yes, Rajesh.
Clear, right? So here you can see always your successful jobs, unsuccessful jobs, and faulted jobs and everything. Say for an instance, your job got failed, so your job will be faulted, errored out, right? So you can see everything, all list of all the jobs here, irrespective of what. And also, guys, one more question, one more important point. You can see every job wherever it is running. This is the name of the process. This is your robot. Okay, name of the robot. This is your environment, and this is here the source is there. See, when you start your jobs from the start, obviously the source of run gonna be manual. Okay, whenever it ran through a schedule, right, it will show the source as schedule. See, it's showing the schedule name. See, we have created one schedule name now. Say the name of the schedule is Rajesh RPS schedule. It's supposed to run every minute. So you should be clear what is the what is the particular source is particular job is getting triggered. So if you see some other names, don't get panic. That means any job it ran, it is getting triggered through a schedule. So how you do is go to that particular schedule and you can check. Since we deleted this particular schedule, it will not show, but just be clear with this particular sources when we get this manual and when we get this particular schedule. In case the job is running automatically through a schedule, you're gonna see that particular name of the source. If you run from here, the source gonna be the manual mode of triggering. That's all. And above you have in different filters. Say you want to see all your pending jobs. Say your bot is running for a lot of time, so it's gonna be in a pending mode. You can see the faulted jobs. You can see the suspended and terminating jobs. See here sources, as I told you now. One is a manual mode, as I showed you. The other one is a schedule. Other one is agent. So what the agent means, I told you, right? On the bottom there is a system tray where you can run your jobs as well. So what are the different sources it can run? In interviews they will ask this question. So just be clear what is a manual and what is a schedule and what is an agent. You can filter these different jobs. And also interval, you can filter it out. Say you want to see only your particular hourly jobs or daily jobs or weekly jobs, you can put a filter here. That's it. Is that clear?
Yeah, clear, Rajesh. Yeah,
Yes, Rajesh.
yes.
So just walk through this PowerPoint presentation as well. Just I highlighted like, what is a machine, standard machine, which were defined, and what are the floating robots, standard robot and floating robot, and type of these robots and the agents. I'm gonna explain in tomorrow's class. What are the different types of bots we're gonna deploy? Okay, these I will explain in tomorrow's class. See, they will ask you what are the back-end robots and front office robots, and what are the different licenses we're gonna use in your projects. Say they will tell usually your development, whatever you're doing, it will run on one particular bar. Once the production it has been running, it will run in a different bars. So tomorrow I will explain you when when which robot will run and which license it gonna run on in which machines. So I'll explain you this topic tomorrow, this particular slide. And environments we have been walk through, and what does the process mean we have seen, and how to publish any particular project to an orchestrator we have seen, and this is a grouping we have seen. So just walk through this PowerPoint presentation. That's it, guys, for today's class. I mean, the orchestrated deployment part. This is the thing I would like to show. If you guys have any more questions, then we can wind up. Any questions, please do address.
No, it's clear, bro.
Clear, right?
Yes.
So see, once if you guys are facing an issues with an orchestrator, so at least if you have some a few basic knowledge, then you can see. See, they will give an access to this particular URL. So they don't give you only read-only access. They will give you. Say they will not give you any permissions to make the schedules and everything. Only read-only they will give it to you. That's all. When coming to production, it will be read-only. But developments, some teams, they will give an access to everything. So depending on organization, you will see different options. That's all. Okay.
Yeah.
And there are two more options: assets, queues. Queues we're gonna discuss once when I discuss this RE framework. And coming to an assets we're gonna discuss in upcoming classes. These are the two things which are pending in an orchestrator perspective. We have discussed in robots, machines, process, and libraries. I'm going to discuss you later, and jobs and schedules. This monitoring I'll explain.
Yeah.
See, monitoring is one consolidated kind of a dashboard. Okay, for a team or a dashboard where it will shows the runtime overview of all like what are all the different robots currently running, what are all the different robots are available as of now, and how many are busy. And sometimes what happens is some of the robots might be unresponsive. So this is kind of an interactive spot dashboard where it will show. See, it is an interactive thing where you can click everything and you're gonna see runtime monitoring kind of tool. See, it shows what are the different robots available in your orchestrator. It shows here. See, this is the name of bot, and currently it is showing a green button. In a glance, you want to see what are all the performance, or you would like to monitor what are all the bots running and health, and if there is any connectivity issues between your UI system tray and your orchestrator. So this is kind of an administrative dashboard where you can see everything on a glance. And see, once you click the jobs, see here, it shows in the green thing means your particular process, it got successfully executed. It will give you a glance of all your jobs, how many jobs it got triggered, and what are your running jobs, and what jobs it got terminated in a particular point time frame. And it's gonna show you the graphs, how many it got successful in this particular time frame. It's a kind of an interactive dashboard, guys. That's all. See how many completed jobs in a certain point of time. See, 7 got successful. And if any pending job schedules it gonna trigger, it's gonna show in the upcoming bots and in which machine it's supposed to trigger, and currently active running jobs. See here, it will explain you processes details. So this is called a monitoring dashboard. That's all. That's pretty much it. Nothing much to do. It's kind of an interactive dashboard. We can't do any much functionality. It's kind of an runtime real time. We can monitor how many mods or how many jobs and how many queues in the real time. It's a runtime execution. We can see in a single dashboard. That's all. Any more questions?
No,
Dinesh,
Rajesh.
Dinesh,
No, bro.
Rajesh,
Yeah, no, Rajesh. Fine.
clear, right?
Yeah,
Not
clear.
clear, bro.
Clear.
Okay, guys, that's it. If you guys have no questions, I'll try to upload this session.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Okay, and the pending topics on the orchestrator I will try to cover tomorrow. Most likely, I might not take it, but I will update you. In the morning or afternoon if you have any session in the evening. If not, it's gonna be on the Monday. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, Rajesh.
Okay, Rajesh.
Okay, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time. Huh?
Okay,
Yeah,
bro.
thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night. Man.
Yeah,
Thanks.
good night, Rajesh.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good
Bye.
night.
Good night. Bye.
Yeah.